Hello, and welcome to the extremely relaxing fishing program. I'll be your host, Bobbie Ross. Today we'll be exploring the finer facets of angling, fishing, sitting outside and getting a farmer tan whilst downing massive quantities of alcohol with your home slices, whatever you want to call it. Fishing can be tremendously relaxing if you do it right. So, how to go about it? Well, dears, I'm going to tell you. First things first. Location, location, location. In other words, where should you park your tuchus and start sinking your hook into those little fishy faces? Well, calm down, fancy pants. There's quite an art to finding the perfect spot to fish. I find that good places to fish involve massive quantities of water. If water is not present in sufficient amounts, fish are not apt to be around. Fish fancy water. Remember this. That said, be on the lookout for places called lakes, ponds, rivers, and the ocean. These places tend to be full of enthusiastic fish just waiting to pounce on your goodies. Conversely, it is important to remember that some places have lots of water but are not good places to fish. These places include water treatment plants, water towers, pet stores, your local zoo, or your neighbor's decorative koi fish pond in his back garden. I do not recommend fishing in these places. Well, perhaps spearfishing like Bear Grylls in your neighbor's koi pond would be fun, but it's not quite sporting, is it? That, and you'd have to purchase good running shoes, camouflage waders, and perhaps a lawyer for the legal proceedings that would inevitably follow. That can get expensive. So we'll just keep it simple and stick to nice open water. See, you're already learning the basics. Now, you found some water. Now find a nice shady place on the bank and sit down. It's good to bring a chair. I bring my Victorian settee from home, because then the other fishermen know I mean business. Bobbie Ross does not mess around. Remember to sit far enough away from the water as to not fall in. If you happen to fall in, this will be made quite evident by the fact that you and your settee are soaking wet, and your lungs are filled with fluid. In this case, cough so as to remove the water from your airway, breathe, locate your furniture, and move back until you are at a drier distance. You may pause this recording now to get your life back in order. I'll wait. Are you back? Great. So you're all settled now, but what are you going to use to fish? I suggest something called a fishing rod. It's a big stick with a spinny thing and a handle on one end and a fishing line attached to it. Now you can go the easy route and buy one of these so-called rods at your local sporting goods store, or you can go the Bobbie Ross way and make yours out of a 2x4 from a tree you felled yourself, thumbtacks, barbed wire, a harpoon hook, and electrical cables. Whatever works for you. Just make sure that it fits your hand properly and that your barbed wire is not covering the handle, as this may result in a rockin' case of lockjaw. I learned that the hard way. Moving on. If you found a shady spot to sit, you most likely have chosen to sit under a tree. I surmise this because trees are great providers of shade, i.e., they block the sun's rays. This is fine, but just realize that casting your line into the water may be made more difficult by said tree in your periphery. Gently cast your line into the water, over your head, making sure that you maintain a hold on your fishing rod. This is a very important rule of fishing. Although you may knock a fish unconscious by lobbing your rod at it, this is very unlikely, and again, not very sporting. Now, if you manage to get your hook caught in the tree, lightly tug on the line until it frees itself. If it does not, you may need to cut down the tree and retrieve your hook, as birds are apt to go after your delicious bait. This is illegal. You have a fishing license, not a birding license. Game wardens are typically skilled at telling the difference between birds and fish, although, pro tip, super glue and clever placement of miniature water floaties have gotten me out of some rather hefty fines. So speaking of bait, whoa there, Nancy, what are we going to bait the hook with? A lot of barbaric fishermen use earthworms. I tend to opt away from this because of their pathetic tiny screams and tendency to bleed all over my settee. I use gummy worms. Much less messy, much more yummy. Pro tip, if you are fishing for bass, you should use gummy bears. You may think this is a silly thing, but believe me, those little buggers are exacting in their standards. So, you've baited your hook with a nice juicy red and white gummy worm. You've attached a bobber to the line about a foot up from the hook. Great. Cast it out there now. Very good. Now, you wait. As my father would say, this is the difference between fishing and catching. Fish know you're waiting, and they are trying to improve you as a person. Patience learn you must, young Jedi. I suggest humming some Metallica to pass the time, or you can see how many gummy worms you can fit in your mouth. My record is 108. That was a very good day. Anyway, down in the depths of the water, the fish are investigating your offering. To fish, these are known as sky worms, and they are revered in ancient fish mythology as things to be worshipped and feared. It's good that fish have 5-second memories, though, because eventually all thoughts of fish lore will subside, and a good old Jonesin for gummy goodness will kick in. Now, this is the scary part. Sometimes when you go fishing, you actually catch a fish. If this occurs, do not panic. Remember, in the back of your mind, when you left this morning, you knew this could happen. Breathe. Reel the fish up to the shore with that spinny thing on the side of your rod. No, the other way. The other way. Other way. Good. Now, pull it up out of the water. Now, fish tend to not go gentle into that good night, so expect some wiggling and general stressing out from your fish. He's probably a little pissed he's got a hook in his face. This just isn't his day. Pro tip, if you see fangs, legs, opposable thumbs, or anything that looks like a plesiosaur from the Jurassic period, give the freaking thing your fishing rod. It wins. Those are the rules of fishing. If not, scold the fish for being too gullible, put on your hazmat suit, and remove the hook from his face. And silently gloat. You have just kicked bass. Congratulations. Well, I hope this fishing program has been informative and relaxing for you. Until next time, this is Bobbie Ross. Good night.